Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here at the Milt Talk Podcast. I'm Jack Stroman, and I'm here with my co-hosts Warner Williams, Agoy Mbima, and Jessica Corrado Platt. We all graduated from a private boarding school that was founded by the chocolate mogul Milton Snavely Hershey and his wife Catherine. In this show, we'll be talking with some of the former students, their family members, and loved ones, in addition to former employees, teachers, and administrators who all worked there at some point in time. We'll get to hear their stories in their own words, and it's our hope and wish that you'll hear something in these stories that you can relate to, whether you went to the school or not. Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm all smooth and gravy and send me your wives and daughters.
Oh, my God.
Welcome everybody back to Milt Talk Podcast. Today is a special day. We are up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, the home base. This is where every time you hear us talking about these stories, this is where we're at, Hershey. So welcome back, and we have a great guest today, Mr. Bob Gurt.
Yo, Bobby. Class 82, girls, what's up?
Yeah.
Ladies.
56, girls, 56 years old.
Well, you answered my first question. What class were you in?
82.
All right.
A good class. We had some ugly people, but can I say that? I mean, you're going to. But, yeah, I mean, it was a good class. I think we had about 98 that graduated. It started with like 110, so we lost about 12 members. But all in all, I mean, most of the guys and girls, because girls came in 8th grade, so most of the guys that I was close with started down in the Maine, you know what I mean, started junior division. So they were with me all the way through, so it was really nice. So, but 82.
Where are you from originally?
Philadelphia, great city of Philadelphia.
I didn't know the Gurts were
I'm with all the Philly guys.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And is it just you and Pete, or do you have brothers and sisters?
Brother Ray is graduating 76. So I'm going to tell you real quick. So Brother
Run
Ray.
it down.
Brother Ray was a troublemaker. Ray ran away like 7 times, made it home, I think, 3 times. My mom whooped up on him when he got home, sent him right back.
That's crazy. I've never heard anybody. That success rate is unbelievable. I just got to say.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't believe it either. We couldn't believe it. And then so he was so then, of course, he was the troublemaker in a sense, but it really just, he went in 8th grade. He didn't like it. You know what I mean?
It's too late.
Yeah, it's too late. Exactly. You just said it. And then I went in 1st grade, but then I was the athlete / class clown, and then Brother Pete. I mean, I don't know if the good. I mean, he's too straight for me. You know what I mean? But
the bar set high at that point.
Exactly.
Bob, you were really the class clown?
Oh yeah, but
it's hard to believe.
They didn't allow me to do both because the honor was my senior year was the best athlete, and then I had the class clown best athlete, and I had to pick one because they didn't allow you to have 2 honors. You know what I mean? Right. So I didn't want to be known as a jackass. I wanted to be known as an athlete. So it was my senior year. You know, I had that honor. But so it was Brother Ray, then 5 sisters, then me, and then Brother Pete. Okay. So that's So it's 5 sisters, 8 total. Mom raised us all.
That's a big
family.
What I mean? Yeah. It's a big family.
Did the girls go to the Milt too?
No, they were too young. So no, too old. I'm sorry. When they started the policy, my sisters were already in high school.
Okay.
So 8th grade is when the ladies came in. I remember that as vividly. I remember sitting there.
What year are we talking here?
This was, I think, 79 is when they made the announcement, because I was in 7th grade, and then they are 78. And I'm sitting there, all school assembly, and you knew it was something serious because there was all kinds of rumors. You know what I mean? Of what was going on. And then all of a sudden they said we're allowing girls, and I just remember being like, gee, dog.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, but the whole thing was to change my priorities.
Yeah,
I was an athlete, a singer. I played clarinet in the band. You know, big dork Bob playing the clarinet. But then when girls were invited into the school, it just changed everything. That changes the dynamic. Then you had to shower every day. You had to look good.
Well, that's when it goes from
sweet daddy, Bob.
Exactly. It goes from, Mom, you got to get me the hell out of this place. You know, I think this is working out. I think this can work. This is going to be all right. Yeah.
And it's so funny you say that, because I remember the summer because you used to hate coming back from vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember back when I was a kid, I mean, you only had like basically 40 days home base, something along those lines. But I remember my 8th grade summer, the girls were enrolled that summer. I didn't meet anybody because I was on vacation. It was the first vacation I ever came back from, and I was excited. I was like, I had no problem coming back. I had honestly, I think I ran down the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
I'll meet y'all there.
Tippetoe. Yeah. Tippetoe.
Yeah. You know, so. Yeah. Well, I often get people like, was it integrated? Did you guys have women? I'm like, dude, I wouldn't have made it at the school if we didn't have girls there.
Yeah.
Like straight up, it wouldn't have worked out. Just I don't care about the education or anything.
There's been a lot more violence, I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, it definitely would have been a lot more rumbling.
What's wrong, man? My face. You crazy, man? That just was waking you up, man. Just stop waking me up.
Yeah, don't do that. For those out there that don't know, we're actually recording today in Bob's office. So we're here in the middle of Hershey right now.
Hershey Abstract.
It's a beautiful day in Hershey, PA.
Yeah, Hershey Abstract. Plug.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in Hershey?
Moved up January 1st of 93.
Okay.
So what it was, I remember, loved Philly, man, but my office was in New Jersey, and I remember, if on a normal route, it'd take me 20 minutes to get to work. You know what I mean? But you guys know how the Philly traffic is.
Oh yeah, it's worse now.
And that's what I mean. I actually I avoid going down because I still get all excited in traffic, But I'm sitting there. It was a beautiful day. I'm stuck in New Jersey. I'm looking out. I'm like, what? I spend most of my day in the car, and I was like, I said I just need a change.
There's
and,
no quality of life there.
Yeah, and it was just like, and I was like, I got to make the move. I called my boss, the guy that you just met today, because I actually had them move up too. He was my boss running the trucking company. I was like, I got to get out of here, man. So I moved up in January 1st of 93 and never looked back. And I was mentioning before I sat down, I think to Justin, I was saying about, I love the people in Philly. I mean, my neighborhood, we had 88 kids on our block. So think of the fun that we had. Even when I graduated, we were still playing football games, stickball games, at 18, 19, years old. And but I just couldn't take it. Northeast Philly, so it would have been up about like Northeast Airport, Grant Academy.
Oh wow, yeah. That's still a good neighborhood.
Oh, it's it was
that's when we played.
Yeah.
When kids played outside. Like
Outside.
everything he just said was
now everybody's on the inside playing.
Video
and
games.
it blows my mind. I mean, I just can't believe. And what I still like, not to get off track, but like when you drive over at Milton Hershey, you still see kids out playing basketball and stuff more than what you did prior. But so I'd like that. So they seem to get out more than what they did over the last 10 years or so. Like but bottom line, growing up in that city in Philly, in that neighborhood, Philadelphia, you had something to do every day, all day. Just think of a neighborhood party. You know what I mean? You'd have at your house, you could have 100 people without even blinking in the backyard. Right. That's what you missed about the city. But I mentioned, like right now, I just left my house. The door's open. I didn't lock it. You know what I mean? I do. Right. They were laughing last. Oh, that's all right. Oh, geez, don't ruin your
nice catch. That was a nice catch. Jessica Corrado on hands.
Thank God you hit the camera.
Jess was an athlete still.
We just had a tree fall in the office in the middle of the interview, and
where
Jessica caught the tree mid-fall.
Yeah, make sure it doesn't come through.
She almost leaped out of the chair.
Lean it down. Yeah, I was going to say, if you lean it. Yeah, so I mean, your neighborhood, it's just so different. So yesterday, my buddies were at Sorrento's. So I just wanted to go in and say hi.
Shout out to Sorrento's. We just had sandwiches.
Yeah. And so I went there. They were all having lunch, and I had to go settlement in Harrisburg. But I wanted to see. I haven't seen them since I got back from vacation. And I left my car running. They're like, I'm sitting there 10 minutes, and they're like, oh, I said, no, my car's running. They started laughing. Like, one of these days, Bob, because I do it all the time. They're like, it's gonna be gone. You know what I mean? But up here, you can really. It's just and no disrespect to Philly because I still love Philly. My friends and family are still some, Right. But up here, it's a better quality of life. You know what I mean? It really.
Somebody will steal your car.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to tell you that. Yeah. Just right out in the open. So you should stop doing that.
Oh, I know it's going to happen.
So you should stop. So I'm going to throw that out there, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I feel like that's all of us with Hershey being home. You know what I mean? Like if you're from South Jersey or New York or Philly or whatever, and you come up here, you understand that dynamic changes. Things slow down. It's like being in the past. Leaving your car on, leaving your door unlocked. Yeah. And so brings me to my next point. So this interview is about you, but it's inevitable that we're going to talk
conversation.
About Pete. Yeah, it's inevitable, right? Yeah. So everybody knows that Pete Gurt is now the president of Milton Hershey School. Shout out to Pete. It's one of my old heads.
Bro.
We love him. We're so happy that he's in there.
You didn't return my message.
See? There's some Milt stuff putting him on blast.
I get that a lot, man.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I called your brother 3 times. You didn't
Thanks
call
a
me.
lot, Peter. I didn't even call you. I just sent you a text. I figured you could text me back. Thumbs broke. All right.
I told him he'd stop by here if he could today, so we'll see.
Yeah. Sounds like a box hockey challenge.
No, I'm just saying I love you, Peter. Since our lives are made rich by true friendship.
Oh my God!
Just throw that out.
It's a sick man.
This is how we function, folks.
Oh, I love it.
Get familiar with Milt. So I'm gonna start the segment off by saying this. I'm gonna say, in Philly, being a Philly person, you've heard of having the old head and a young bull. So your old head is somebody who's older than you, takes you under their wing, shows you how to move. Don't do this, gives you some knowledge, lays some things down. When I first heard about you, they were telling me that you were a great big brother.
Yeah.
That Pete, many moons ago, you guys kind of saw the writing on the wall that he was the one who could actually do something down the road.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure,
Like
yeah.
he had a clean enough record. He was smart enough.
Unlike myself.
Exactly,
You better believe it.
And that you protected him over the years and kept him out of trouble and kept him focused on stuff. And I mean, can you talk to us a little bit about?
Don't get me all emotional and shit.
I'm just, I hadn't even met you yet, and a lot of people
I know.
would tell,
I like happy talk.
that's your reputation.
No, he was a good. I mean, and Pete, you could just tell he was so straight and narrow. I mean, it's like, how was that my brother? I remember I'm a senior. I'm walking the halls, and it's like, and he's walking, all, like this, and I was like, who is that dork, And sure enough, it's like my brother. I was like, oh, Brother Pete, how you doing? But you could tell he was destined to be in a good situation, But I think all of us are in a good situation. He has and I use the word because Mr. Fisher said that, he has the honor to be the president of school. And that's what it is. It's an honor. I mean, does good pay come with? Apparently it does. You know what I mean? But, at the end of the day, it's an honor to have that job. I think any of us would want that job and take it for free, really, in a sense. You know what I mean? Be able to run the school. But you could see he was destined for stardom, whatever the word you want to use, success at a very young age. It's funny. Last night, we had a cancer fundraiser over at Purcell Hall, and somebody made a comment at the table we were with. The girl that was making the announcement said about, I was the favorite, of my mother and the 4 siblings and all. And somebody asked me who was my mom's favorite. I was like, are you kidding me? His brother, it was Pete. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he was the one that was just always. I mean, he lived his life a little different. I'll never forget having fun. I come home one night. I think he was still at the school or at Temple, so I can't remember. I think he was at Temple. And I come home and I'm all fired, I'm all, having fun. Come home, I'm like, sitting there at the fridge, and he's doing his homework at the table, and he says, "Can I have a serious talk with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, man,
great time for it."
He's like, "You need help." I'm like, "What?" He says, "You need help." I'm like, "For what?" I just was out, had a good time, whatever.
Yeah, breaking my balls.
Yeah. It's like, come on, little fella.
Exactly.
And but he ended up really lighting into me, man. I'm sitting there, man. I said, "You just ruined my meal, man." So I put the food back, and I said, "Good night." But I'm getting lectured by my younger brother, and I'm like, "Man, get off it, man. Get off my back a little bit." But he was always like that.
That's how he is.
And again, at the end of the day, he was, and we're so proud as a family, that he got the position he was in. And it was all through his dedication to the school. But remember, you said earlier about when you get there early enough, you appreciate it, especially as you go on each year, you understand a little bit better and what have you. But he went there 2 years of kindergarten, so that's all he knew was Milt Hershey.
Absolutely.
He comes out of school. He got a job over a pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, but I think he wasn't even there a year. And then Milt Hershey called, and then he moved up, and bam, so the story. So I think he's got plus 25 plus.
I can't believe it's been that long.
I can't either.
I really.
Yeah.
Well, you said any of us and anybody would be flattered to take that job, but not everybody could handle it.
No, I couldn't.
And that's the thing is like he spoke at Mr. Webster's funeral.
Yes,
the other day.
Amazing.
Okay, so a lot of people spoke. There was a lot of there was tons of celebration of life, but his words really moved me. Like I'm like, oh, this is my guy Pete. Yeah, he went up and what he said just really. He's good at what he does.
Oh God, yeah.
And I'm happy that he's in there. It's nice to have a homeboy who represents us because there were the years and we talked about this with Mr. Weller where we weren't welcome back. It's like I helped build this thing. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? And now he changed that dynamic, and I think that's huge. So.
You made a great point there. There was because you get wrapped up in your own world up here. But there was a girl, so I got voted in to be on the board again this year, and I didn't want to do it because your schedule's so busy, whatever. And I thought, you know what, the school is on all cylinders. The alumni is doing really well, so I thought, oh my God. So
is that him? Pete's calling in right now. How funny. His
awesome.
ears
Thanks
are
for
twitching.
calling me back, Pete. You must have heard my comments.
So this girl said I was at the board meeting. She said I was part of the lost decade. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said it was and again, no disrespect to the Dr. Lepley and all that, but it was a discord. There just
was a disconnect.
Yeah, serious disconnect. It was. I mean, when you were told this school was so important to all of us, and if I was in charge of a school like this, I would hire every Milt I could possibly hire.
It's what's
As long
best
as-
for the school.
You better believe it. And then, and was fact that they didn't want to have any Milt Hershey employees that were graduates of the school. And you're sitting here like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
So when that girl said it was 10 years of lost classes.
Right.
I mean, I guess in my mind, I never realized until she said it and how much it stung
Right.
and how much there was a lot of truth to it.
You
know
you
what I
just
mean?
move forward and you just
Yeah.
kind of take it, and then when you get back to normal, like those next couple of years, you felt the energy of homecoming. It was like, and now you come up. Doesn't matter how many people come or don't come.
Yeah.
The energy is still the
It's-
same.
yeah.
You feel like you're home.
Yeah, correct.
And so, I wanted to talk.
Yeah.
I got to tell you a quick story about Pete.
Yeah.
And then we're probably going to move on a little bit. So I first met Pete. I was a freshman at Glendale.
Oh, jeez.
I'm coming up from intermediate divisions, my senior division student home. And, I'm low man on the totem pole, and I go to sleep, and I'm passed out, and somebody wakes me up. Yo, it's barn. Time for barn. Let's go. Oh, you autopilot. I jump up. I run down 4 flights of stairs, put on my shitty clothes, covered in cow shit, and run outside. It's pitch black. Pete and Miss Martin, Eileen, Jack, and friends.
Oh, yeah,
Martin,
yeah.
they're standing there cracking up laughing. I said, I don't even know y'all. You know what I mean? Like, and so I saw Eileen Martin the other day, and I told her that story as soon as I saw her. I said, like Pete and your mom, and she said she still tells that story to this day because you were a good sport about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what being a Milt is, but like,
Yeah.
you don't even know anybody. They're gonna crack jokes. They're gonna bust your balls. That's that's part of it. You're part of the family now.
Yeah.
So and I still see that he's serious most of the time, but I can still see the
Oh.
the silliness
And I
in
was
there.
going to
Like,
chime into that because he is like, when I say this, I don't mean in a bad way, but I'm a sick man. I love to have fun, period.
that's what it's about.
And, people around town are like, man, you're crazy. Because when I'm out, I talk to people and have fun and this and that. But when it comes down, and my whole goal was, this is a classic story, so I'll finish what I'm doing because we're using cuss words here, so this is a hysterical
okay.
story
It's
to
all
tell.
right. Yeah, yeah.
But
This is the real stuff, y'all.
Pete is funnier. Everybody said, "Oh, Bob, you should be a stand-up comic." And I said, "That's what I want to do." But Pete is funnier or crazier than I am if you get him in the right set. He's just a fun personality, and you can't show that. With
you
your
have to
position.
build
You know
the
what I
game.
mean? So
Which is what I was saying about with this. Like, eventually, we'd love to have Pete on. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people we'd like to have on, but we
Yeah.
don't want to put them in a bad position. So hopefully down the road, it's going to happen.
yeah.
Okay.
Pete, you're coming on.
Pete, you're coming on
we need you,
apparently.
brother.
So
Yeah.
you
We need you, brother.
You're getting called.
So listen to this story. We were talking about it because just last week my whole family went away except my brother Ray. He couldn't get off, but we all went down to Florida together. Brother-in-law, sisters, whatever. And we were telling the story again. So I'm, back in the 80s, early 80s, comedy shows were huge. So my older sisters and brothers kept taking me to comedy shows. I was like, man, this could be me. No 9 to 5, no sitting in an office.
Traveling.
And so I would come home at night, whatever kind of night, Monday, Tuesday, after the show, and just write stuff down. Because, again, you could get in a comedy show for $5. It was so inexpensive, and it was as well $5 the whole
of
night.
entertainment. Right.
Yeah. You get 3 comics up there. And so I started writing all these stuff down. I'm writing these notes, and, I'm still at home. I'm 19 or 20 at the time. And, we were eating at family dinner. Everybody still lived at the house. We still had family dinner. Hey, Mom, excuse me. And I used to just finish up and go play basketball at the playground. And she goes, Robert, I need to talk to you, after dishes are done. So everybody finishes up. And I sit down face to face with her. And she's like, do you regret me sending you? This is I can't believe this has more so to do with Milton Hershey School. Do you ever regret me sending you to Milton Hershey School? I'm like, Mom, no, man. This is, the school was my savior.
Right.
But I said I would have loved to grown up here in the neighborhood, but I didn't. It is what it is. And she starts going all this, have you seen doctors? And I'm like, what the heck?
What is going on?
She goes out to the dining room, grabs this tablet, and I probably at this point had 15, 20 pages of
Jokes.
notes.
Yeah.
Notes and jokes. And boy, were they over the line. I mean, they were downright nasty.
Right.
Because back then, shock and awe was good. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right.
And so, I mean, when she walked in the kitchen, I remember just going like this. And you still respect Mom. I went down on my seat. I'm like, oh, no, you didn't.
On my notes.
I mean, I'm busting on her. I'm busting on my sisters. Because so much material you have is with your family.
Right. That's what you know.
And I said, oh, no, Mom, you don't even. I'm sorry.
You're like, see what had happened, right?
And she said, how warped, your mind is really warped, and I'm worried about you. I said, no, this is humor. This is not humor. She says, this is sickness. And I made that promise to her that day. I said, Mom, I will never disrespect you as long as you live. So I changed, straight up, I wanted to do it. And I changed courses and thought, I can't be up there on stage busting on her, busting on my sisters, trying to make love to my girls. Because a lot of it was, sex oriented. Sorry about that.
Right. She has sex.
She's
She
one of
has
us.
sex too. She does.
She has sex too.
She really does.
Just children.
She does.
Yeah, so my career path changed real quick.
Yeah, you made a left.
That's what, and went into straight business instead of crazy business. But down in Florida, I love comedy. And just at the end of the day, when Pete, years ago, we were sitting there talking because it was, again, during those years that there was a lot of turmoil, and he was really thinking of leaving the school. Now think about that. His life was a school. At that time, radio shows in the morning were coming big, almost like this. Could you imagine us, Milt, sitting around and having a radio show and the fun that we would have? Throw some music in.
That's what, yeah.
That's what I mean.
What this is going to be for us. Yeah.
So we actually talked about, I'm going to throw a name out that you guys probably love him, but we said, because Ricky was getting ready to retire, Ricky Francis. So we said, could you imagine the three of us? Like, the three, because Ricky knows the music, Pete and I would bust on everybody, and then Ricky would hit out the music. You know what I mean? But we actually considered that way back in the day.
I would have came
that
to the show. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
But at the end of the day, he stayed his course, and he's there. I'm here, and again, at the end of the day, I'm happy with where I'm at. Look at all the pictures. Everything's Milt
This
Hershey.
is awesome. Like I said, it feels like we're home.
Yeah.
Well,
Glad
listen.
it worked out the way it did.
Bob, what we're going to do now is Goey's going to jump on and ask you some questions. Warner's going to ask you some questions.
And,
Jess will as well.
Okay.
I just want to thank you for coming on.
This is a blast.
And hopefully we can have you come on a regular basis.
Oh, my God.
That's
I would
something
love
we want
this.
to do.
You kidding me?
Bring some other people on. We want to get these stories out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just too many. Our family's too big. It's too many years. And so.
Hey, this is Jessica Corrado Platt, class of 1990, graduate of Milt and Hershey School, and co-host of Milt Talk Podcast. We'd love to continue to hear from as many Milts as we can on this show. Unfortunately, there are production costs that we need to take care of in order for that to happen. If you would like to continue to hear the stories from former Milts, please visit Milt Talk Podcast to make a donation. That's Milt Talk Podcast. MiltTalkPodcast.com. Thank you.
Warner Williams, class of 90. Holla.
Young buck.
So, Bob, you were talking about you went to the school at first grade.
Yes.
Do you happen to remember the date?
No, and the funny thing was, it had to be August of 70 because I just went in I just redid my office and I found some Milt Hershey stuff in my office, and it had me sign. I don't know who got me. I think Pete got me. My signature was August 16th, 1970 is when I signed the homestead. Remember, I don't know if you guys you had to sign the homestead book when you went for your first visit.
All about that.
So it would have been August of 70, but I don't know the exact date. And the crazy thing is, every Milt knows their date. I don't remember.
Some people do.
You know.
I know the month and the year.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I have. So
I got mine, December 7th, 1981. I remember that.
Wow. God, so you were there. You started when I was, great and ready to graduate.
Yeah.
Wait, you get to watch the state championship we already played, right? That would
No,
we didn't.
I got there in 81.
81. We won the
In
championship. December. Yeah, we won we already won the championship. It was March of 81. So
March of 81.
Yeah,
okay.
we won the state championship basketball.
Wow.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. But,
Yeah, they still haven't done any of that. They had the track team, though.
Oh, yeah.
Never lost a dual meet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
We never lost a dual meet. Just throwing that out there. Cash money relay team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's got a picture of it right
So
there.
do you remember which student homes you were in?
Oh, yeah. So you're going to love this. Emerson. So the guy that lives with me, Milton Hershey guy, first kid I met at Milton Hershey School, 5 years old. You walk in, they're like, it was, what was his name? Mr. Fink, because my house parent was on his summer vacation, said, Billy will take you up to your room. So Billy lives with me now. The first kid I met at Milton Hershey School.
Wow.
And no, we're not a couple.
That's good.
Got to throw that out there.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Oh, it's very good to know.
Ladies.
So, but anyway, so it was student home Emerson, and then I went to Emerson. I went to Oak Grove, and then the house parents were so good, and then she was diagnosed with cancer, so they had to leave. And then I went to Nanticoke for 7th and 8th grade year. 2 bad years, and I'll tell you this quick story to wrap that up. But the house parents were just mean people. I don't know if you came intermediate division was always tough. They say it's still tough to this day there.
That's when you're breaking them.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean,
and
you're right.
Be tough.
It's going to be tough, and I don't think that'll ever change. But these people were they were mean people. So it was out of all the years I had there, the 2 worst years, and they weren't all that bad, but they were just the 2 years because you knew the ultimate goal was to get senior division.
Right.
But that was in Nanticoke, and then went to, you guys will love this story, so then Crest Lane. And then I find out that, and my Crest Lane was all athletes. So you talk about you're a freshman. There was no, I don't know when you were bullying, there was no, what do you call, back in the day, hazing and stuff like that. We would play basketball, we'd play football, and it was just such a great student home. But then I find out if you're in the Glee Club, you don't have to do barn. You know what I mean? And that's when and that's when I started busting out my voice.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe, so I go to practice. So I go to Glee Club tryouts in the summer of my freshman year, and you get up. You have to be. You guys probably did the same thing. You're in front of all these people, and you have to sing. And you talk about nervous, like I was nervous today. I don't know why I was nervous about this, but now it's just awesome. But you're up in front of all these people, and next thing you know, I get that I'm part of the Glee Club. I'm like, so the next 2 years, 10th and 11th grade were the best years of my life, because not only did the barn, but the student home we had, we traveled together, we sang together. We did, we literally would go away, like after lunch on a Saturday, Sunday, they would say, take a walk. Our walks weren't an hour. Our walks were all afternoon. They'd just be back for 5 o'clock dinner. You're sitting there like, wow, we got this kind of freedom in a home, and it was so awesome. So then it's my junior year. It's parents' weekend, finish track. We're going there, and I guess you can bleep this out or whatever. But anyway, so we're on stage. We're on dress rehearsal Thursday night. We're doing dress rehearsal for Friday morning because you did in front of the whole school. I got gym shorts on with no drawers on underneath.
Oh, no.
So my buddy, I'm up there in front, singing with the New Horizons. All of a sudden, bam, shorts. You have elementary kids. You got junior high kids. And I'm sitting there like, really? I got the pen. No. I'm like, really? And I guess I should have pulled him up right away. So anyway, I pull him up. We finish parent weekend. I get called into Mr. Alexander's office, and I knew I was in trouble. And he said, we're going to have to let you go. But you talk about, my answer was, I totally understood. It was disrespect, and I did so many fun stuff, and it just really disrupted practice and those type things. So to me, it was just fun, And he said, we got to let you go. And so anyway, that the end of that summer, they sent me out. They wanted me as far away from Founders Hall and campus, so they sent me out to Edgewood for my senior year.
Wow.
And that was, granted, a great group of guys, but there was like 9 or 10 freshmen in the student home, and I'm like, I'm at that time big dog,
Right.
And they come in my room one night. This wraps up my senior year, and they start, because they were always talking smack. I'm like, I could take all of you on, and this was serious. So one night after study hall, they come in, all of them together. They jumped me, and now when I say whooped on me, they held me down, and then they could see I was getting teed off.
Right.
So then they finally let me up, and they scurry, but they got the best of it. So I pick up, remember those chairs in the bedrooms, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the last one out the door is my brother Pete. I smashed it over his back. Oh yeah, I smashed that chair on his back. But the freshman got the best of me, man. So I learned to shut my mouth, even though I was the big dog. Big dog wasn't barking too much.
Right.
But they got the best of me, man. But that was student homes: Emerson, Oak Grove, Nanticoke, Crest Lane, not Mazeland. My God.
Yeah, I'm curious what the
Muncie.
Muncie was,
and then Edgewood. So
all
good student
Muncie
homes.
was the New
Glee Club.
Horizon
That was
Glee Club. Yeah, 2 best years of my life. Yeah, and they again at the end of the day they threw me out. So, and I totally understand. I said, Mr. A, I'm sorry to put you through that. I knew I was acting up, and he put me in my place.
Right.
Sometimes you get too cocky, and you need somebody to bring you down. He
down.
did.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and I wish I would have finished at Muncie though, because that student home, the guys there. We were all like brothers, you know what I mean? We were just a great student home, you know what I mean? So
do you have like your Acropolises and all that stuff? Do you still have?
I did, but I give them away.
You gave them away?
Yeah, because guys that don't come back much. Because I always had parties at my house on Thursday night, and then what I would do is, I would, so I would, guys were like, oh my God, can I look at that? And so I have a couple, but I gave a lot of them away to to other people. Because if I ever needed one, I'm sure I could get one. But it was nice. Like
No, the one that you would have that you had everybody sign.
oh yeah, I still have that. Yeah, I didn't give that away. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's why I was surprised.
No, I
Like, you
kept
didn't
all
get
my
that
senior year. I kept the 79 through 82.
one. Okay.
So, and again, if you come to my house, it's worse than this. I got Milton Hershey stuff everywhere. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's home. You know, so people have pictures of family. I've never been married, no kids. My family's Milton Hershey. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
right. So I remember you saying earlier that your life is still structured.
Oh yeah.
Your Saturday morning, there's
Oh,
plans
yeah.
out and all
Yeah.
that. Was that Milt driven?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it hurts with the ladies. You know what I mean? So, girls like, you're too structured for me. I'm like, hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Work always comes first to me. But yeah, I mean, every Saturday morning I wake up, it's all routine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to come here at, our office opens at 8:30, but I'm usually here before that. But I never, if I miss a phone call or so, I get excited. Like right now, when we just came in here today, I saw there's a voicemail. But I'm like, I just want to focus on this. But get here early, work late, hopefully go to the gym and eat dinner, and you start the next day. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I'm very structured, and it's all due to Milton Hershey School. Yeah.
Man, I wonder if you had kids, if you'd have them doing chores and all that.
Oh, for sure.
Would you? I do
Nice.
that. I do the same thing with mine. They hate Saturdays because that's when we really do our chores.
Yeah.
And they see, we got the chore chart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we got blackout time for the phones and all that stuff. Like they can't stand
But
it.
that's huge because you don't see it nowadays. I mean, so just yesterday, I'm fueling up right across the street from my office here. And this girl, probably 21, 22, she almost got hit by a car. She's just walking through the parking lot of the gas station, didn't even notice anything around her, and she's focused on that. And even this one young lady I was dating, her son, I mean, he's on that game stuff all day, every day. It just drives me nuts. I'm like, you got a hoop out there I purchased. Get out there and shoot. Yeah. And he's turned into a good athlete now. So but when it first started, when he started getting into these games, I mean, it's amazing to me how, when I say it's not about him, but how shallow some people's lives are, that they don't go out and know their neighbors. My neighborhood here in Hershey's like my neighborhood in Philly. I make sure I know everybody.
Right.
I invite them to my house for barbecues, for drinks. A lot of people, go into these neighborhoods around here, they don't even know their name. I don't know who. When I do settlements here, I'll say to people selling, hey, what are the neighbors like? I never talked to them. And you've been there 7 years? Like, to me, I just don't understand that. You know what I mean? So, but I'm sorry, I know it went off path there. But yeah, very structured and I'm glad I'm like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get a lot more done.
Yeah, oh, you better believe it.
Write everything down and get it done.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
All right, I'm on, Bob. So it's funny. I had a lot of other questions to ask, but listening to, I was just like, wow, man, we live like very similar Milton Hershey lives. It's so weird. Yeah. So we both got a brother, Peter.
No kidding.
No,
Yeah.
my brother's name. I'm talking about your brother.
Oh.
So, but here's where it comes into place at. So you were in intermediate division. You were in Nanticoke.
Yes.
I was in Tuscarora.
Really? That was pretty good.
So, and then you mentioned that you were in Crest Lane.
Yeah.
I was in Willowwood.
Okay. Yeah, right across the street.
And so I went to Willowwood because when they closed the Glee Club down, I was in Foxdale.
Are you serious?
So
wow.
It's just weird. I was just thinking like, man, listen, look at that. So
that is very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was in a Glee Club, of course.
Yeah.
And that's how I interacted with Peter.
Yeah.
And he wasn't exactly he wasn't the president at the time.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, no.
And I'm sure he remembers quite a few stories that we won't talk about right now. And when you're a freshman going into like the Glee Club unit, which doesn't have a barn or anything at the time, we didn't have a barn or anything like that. So there was a lot of more time to joke and play practical jokes and welcome the new freshmen.
Yeah.
And so,
We're calling it now. Welcome.
so
It was not hazing. It was
Welcoming committee.
I love the term.
yes. And so, in the summertime, Muncie would come to Foxdale.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so then they would welcome
Yeah.
the freshmen.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting. We won't talk about the welcoming committee and what they
happened.
did, but it was very interesting. But it was always cool. But you mentioned that he could always separate himself to say, hey, look, maybe you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, because we'd have Glee Club practice in Founders Hall.
Oh, I used to love
with
it.
Mr. Virgil Alexander, who was very serious when it was time he was very serious, and sometimes we would play practical jokes.
Yes.
On Mr. A.
Yes. Yeah.
And every now and again, Peter would be the voice of reason to say, hey, come on.
Yeah.
You really think that you want to? And like, all right, Peter.
Yeah.
All right, we'll cool out. But
Yeah.
it was really good, like, to be able to know, like, especially when you see somebody say, wow, and then he went to Temple, of course.
Yeah, Temple.
I work at Temple as well.
Yeah.
So it's just weird, all these different things that I'm listening to, and it's just like,
How
wow.
similar, yeah.
Yeah, it's just wow. Like that's amazing. And then many years later, after graduation, and we're up, and then I'm like, yo, that's Bob Gurt. And so I'm like, hey, Bob, yo, listen, come on, buddy, we're going to go. And it was just like, we won't talk about all those things.
Oh, God, no.
Either. But
a lot of things you're not talking about.
But, yeah, well, he knows.
Homecoming was unbelievable.
Yeah, he like, they invited, like, because, I'm 87, and, these guys, but, like, only from a distance, because they graduated a couple, like, I was in intermediate division when he was graduating.
Yeah.
And so, but you get to see him, like, because they would come up, pick up Peter and stuff like that. So you'd see him, like, there's Bob Gurt, Yeah, he's over there. And then So then at homecoming, it's just like, man, even though you've graduated and done certain things, it's still like, hey, there's Bob. So Kenny Easton, shout out to Kenny Easton. Kenny Easton was like, yo, we're down to Simmons, come by. And that was like, he's like my big homie. So I was like, so we get there, and I was like, he's like, yo, here he is. Just like, I was like, whoa, this guy. And, oh, man. And so when I was pulling up, he was like, yeah, you know how to get here. I was like, yeah, because we walked.
Yeah.
we were at the Simmons, and we just walked. Oh. One night we were having a few libations, and we just walked down here, and we're sitting right outside, just sitting down like outside, just like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And then I was like, when it was all over a sudden, I was like, where am I at?
Yeah.
Got to walk back up. But it was a lot of fun. So me and Warner were talking just in the kitchen today, and we were talking about, just like I was talking about, my mom and my relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
And being in the Milt, it was like this resentment. She feels like sometimes that, I resent her for
my mom
for
too.
going to the Milt, or sending me to the Milt. And so it was just and you mentioned that, like, but this was you were talking about something different.
Oh yeah.
But it just came up, and I was thinking about, I wonder if that's like a deal, like, because my mother to this day, she's still like, we still have conversations about, like, Mom, I love you, I don't resent you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the best thing you probably ever done for me.
Yeah.
Even though at the time it was very painful.
Oh God.
Because I was like, I think it was 7th grade. And so when I heard somebody say 8th grade, or it's too late.
Yeah.
So I was right at that. It's too late.
Yeah.
I was trying to be a gangster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And trying. I wasn't doing a good job. But it's just an interesting thing that when you make that conversion to when you get to the Milt, at what point is the buy-in?
Yeah. That's a great question.
What point is the buy-in?
Yeah.
So like, because you were talking and you mentioned it, and I wrote it down, is that intermediate division is tough.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's got to be even tougher for a young man who's at the cusp.
Yeah.
Who's might not make it, because 7th, 8th grade is almost too late.
Yeah, you're right. Because the kids that we saw, the success rate that we saw in our groups was the kids that did the intermediate division. You know what I mean? When they knew the journey, they knew the rules, the regulations, or whatever. And their success rate to get into graduation was so much higher than kids that came in the intermediate division, or kids that came in 9th grade. Because already you're setting like my brother, he was setting his ways. I mean, he's like, you're going to tell me what? He was, right. And Ray had a really difficult time at the school. And when I say that, I mean, he loves it, but And it wasn't for people who cared, like some teachers, John Horner, some of these other teachers. There was 2 teachers in particular that actually, because they were getting ready to throw him out. You run away 7 times or whatever that number was.
Yeah.
They're like, listen, you don't belong here.
Right.
But he had some people pulling for him, and he was able to get through. So again, we saw the success of younger kids, rather getting the graduation. The kids came in 7th, 8th, 9th grades. You know what I mean? So, but. You try to, if you can get out, like I said, I would do it in a heartbeat, but my schedule doesn't permit it. Like they always want alumni to go out and try to help recruit, So I've helped in the past, and I got away from it for there's 2 reasons, but I can't talk because I think one's legal issue or whatever. But, the bottom line is, you try to help kids get there. And my whole philosophy is I try to go after kids that are younger and try to help them.
Right.
Again, the biggest difficult, like you talk to parents, you said it. They're like, my kid will hate me. I'm like, your kid, and there's parents I met up here, had breakfast with them, took them on a tour of the school and say, why is he going to hate you? Why? There's no hate. Look at what the school, look at the opportunities that your child's going to have, coming here. So, and, again, it's a tough decision, but my mom, she definitely thought there was some resentment, from us to her, but there wasn't. Again, all of us would have rather been at home,
I think what I've learned, I was telling Warner, is that it's not a resentment as much as I feel like they want, when you come back home, I feel like they want to be mom again.
Yeah.
And it's tough for all these years, however long you've been away.
That's a very good point.
I'm not the same, so
yeah.
I've learned to rely on other people.
Yeah, that's so true.
But I'm getting back to that. But
yeah.
I've learned that my resources now are different.
Yeah,
because you weren't. I couldn't get you. I need somebody right there.
Yeah,
and so now that I'm home, you're there. But I've learned to depend on other people now.
Yeah,
and also your ability to rely on yourself.
Yeah,
because that's one thing I feel like the Milt teaches everybody is to learn how to be a self-preserver.
Oh, yeah, sink or swim.
Learn.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
You have, and that's the philosophy. You're going to sink or swim. Now, when I got there, like again, 7th and 8th grade, all the good athletes are already known.
Yeah.
So trying out for basketball, trying
Correct.
out for
How
football,
difficult it would be.
It was
for
really tough because I was an athlete.
Yeah.
But when you come, there's somebody already plays your position.
Yeah, and you're on the outside looking in.
There's somebody who's punt, pass, and kick like 4 million yards. You know what I'm saying? So, right. So, but it's a tie-in. But when you do that,
yeah,
it's really so. When you have those athletes, I'm saying because you were here for so long.
Oh, you better.
Were you able to see, like some of those kids that come in and at that age, to see who the athletes were, to see who those and trying like was there something that you could see that you could grab somebody and say, hey, come on, just stick with me? Or
yeah, I mean, a good friend, Kip Blair, came in 8th grade. And this kid had hands like you couldn't imagine, and he ended up being my tight end all the way through high school. But he wasn't even going to try out. You know what I mean? It's like, Kip, you have too much ability, man. Come on. And like you said, they already decided who was going to be the basketball team.
Sure.
So it would be difficult, to break that, because a lot of coaches already have their minds made up because they've already seen what you can do. And a new kid comes in, it makes it very difficult. And I think the other thing, coming in 7th and 8th grade years is, and I think I might have mentioned already, but you're already set in your ways. You know what I mean? Then you're coming here, and it's a lot stricter then than it is now. But it's so difficult to go from. I'm not saying running the streets or whatever. Coming in at dark time, and in first grade, I mean, I was in bed and it was still light out. To this day, it drives me nuts. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is, you really didn't. You didn't like the transaction, or how am I want to say it? I mean, I lost my train of thought. But it was, the bottom line is it was the younger the better because I knew what was expected, even going in intermediate division. You know what I mean? So it made it easier for transition-wise. Where you come in middle years, it's very difficult, period. You know what I mean? So, but there was one other thing, and a teacher of mine says it all the time. Somebody mentioned, I just don't want to miss Mr. Whitman in case he calls me. But, the kids... and I'm not saying the kids nowadays, but everybody, we weren't victims. You know what I mean? And one of the teachers, I don't know if he still teaches now or not. No, he doesn't. But he said, Bob, at the my end of my tenure there, he said a lot of these kids make excuses and stuff like that. And he said what Milton Hershey teaches you is you take responsibility for your actions. You're not a victim. If you are a victim, somebody made a comment earlier, you overcome that. There's no either sink or swim, is what I said.
Right.
Yeah. And, and the bottom line is, there was, situations where I just didn't like, but at the end of the day, you gotta swim. So in 2 years ago, I lost mom, sister, business. Sitting there like, damn.
Right.
Lost it all.
Yeah.
But could have been a victim. Decide I can't. You know what I mean? Bottom line is you just move on.
Right.
Don't cry. No, but it was a tough year. But if it wasn't for Milton Hershey, I would have never been able to get through that. That's my point. I would have never been able to get through that. So, at the end of the day, you can sit here and make excuses. Oh, my life's over, whatever, man. You got to keep moving on.
Real. That's real.
What advice would you give to a 7th or 8th grader that, like, if they're coming in that late in the game, like what?
That's a great question. And it just follow the rule. I mean, these kids. I say these kids nowadays. I mean, they're the same. Ricky Francis always said to me, "The kids don't change, we do." There's so much truth to that. But at the end of the day, we were held accountable. And I always say, even in the work world, like I had this ice cream shop for 9 years, and these kids, I'm paying them. And I was like, but I wanted to get them ready for the real world. So I would hire these kids at 16, 17 years old and have rules and regulations, because the bottom line is when you get out here in the world, if you don't abide by it, you don't have a job. Right. So my recommendation would be 7th, 8th, 9th grade is just follow the rules. Latch on to somebody that you can trust, you know what I mean? Again, you can be easily led astray, but get a solid person, abide by the rules and regs, and listen, I say this every time, opportunity, man. Take an opportunity, man, when you can get in the band or you can play football or swimming, track, whatever it is. Man, we never had these opportunities. If I stayed in Philly, I would have never been the quarterback of a football team. I'd have never played a clarinet. You picture me in Northeast Philly playing a clarinet. 6'3" dork, But to me, it was keep yourself busy, keep yourself occupied. And literally, I love going to school. And my student homes, and like I said, 2 years were bad. But, I mean, other than that, you're out and about. You're with people. You're not stuck at the student home doing nothing. So the more they get involved, the better it is for them. You know what I mean? So
take advantage of every opportunity.
Because, once you leave here, and once you leave here, the bottom line is, I remember it was probably 2 or 3 weeks out. And I'm, again, huge family, lovely family, great friends, and I remember sitting in my backyard. It's, the end of June or whatever. We graduated June 6th. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, I missed the school already. Because, again, it was all I knew. Right. And it's crazy. You wanted to get to that stage so fast. Yeah. And then once you were gone, it's like, damn, I want to go back. You can't go back in time. And that's why I tell the kids, take advantage of it now because you ain't getting it back,
Sure don't.
And how many kids leave here like, man, God, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I had 2 friends, their senior year. Back then, I don't know if at your time, but at 18, you could sign yourself out because you're considered an adult, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you could. I feel like that was...
Well, 2 of my buddies did that. And to this day, it's like the one kid was all the way through from first grade with me. And you talk to him now, and it's like, Bob, you want to hit it, you want to smack him back then. He turned in February of his senior year is when he signed himself out. You got 3 months, really? Wow. You got March, April, May, June 6th, we graduate. Yeah. So, just take advantage of what the school gives you. And they have so much to give you now.
Are you still in contact with that person?
Yeah. I stay.
Do they regret it?
Oh, God, yeah. And then the other guy is actually my other buddy who signed himself out. He's a councilman up in Reading. He's been there for years. He's just trying to change that city for the better. But he, his senior year, he signed himself out. You know what I mean? But there's 2 guys that regret that the rest because you can't go back. It's a regret the rest of their life. You know what I mean? So, but
Bob, you touched on it, and I always like to ask a question, and you kind of talked about it, so I really didn't ask it, but you brought it up, and I always like to ask people. So we graduated. and then you're done.
Yeah.
And you touched on a little bit, just like I want you to elaborate. Like when you graduated and you left, how did you feel? Like, because I know
I was lost. I was lost.
And you can't come back.
No,
and they don't even want you back sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, like, because I know for me, I have a story. Warner's, everybody has a story about the day that they left the Milt, and then the realization that it's over.
And I'm in the city of Philadelphia. We had a huge party at the Simmons. All the family was up. All the graduates, came over there. We had fun. Next thing you know, I'm driving through Center City, Philadelphia, to drop my buddy off because his mom, didn't come to graduation. And then the nice thing was my mom was so cool. Two of my buddies stayed at my house till the end of June. Because again, they really didn't have anywhere to go, and that's crazy about that.
Right.
I'm sitting here. I got a great family, lovely family. I got a house. These guys had nowhere to go, and then finally, my mom, and she, you wear out your welcome, but she said, hey, she told me it's time for them to get back to reality, because they literally came to my house for about 3 weeks till the end of June.
Wow.
But you talk about so my mom said to me, time to get to work, get a part-time job until college. And then I remember I worked down in Center City, Philadelphia, and just the realization of again, it's all school. I didn't like getting up at 5 a.m, taking the bus, taking the L down to Center City. I would be down there before sunlight, and I'm sitting there again, Milton Hershey training. You're sitting there before the gates open a construction site. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't want this. You know what I mean? I don't want this.
Right.
So I was really lost there for a while, really until college started. That whole summer, you're sitting here because all you knew was the school and the routine and then you're sitting there at home. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Yep. It's good that you said that you had college, though. There's a lot of people that have left the Milt that still haven't found their way.
Yeah.
Because they're lost without all that structure and all that support.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
all
a
that
good
freedom.
point. And all that freedom.
That structure.
Yeah.
You get somebody too much freedom.
Oh.
From none.
From no freedom to
And I'll be honest with you. So what happened
in
in college, and you talk about a regret, and I don't have many regrets in life. Life's been good to me because you work hard, you play hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been a philosophy of mine. And that was instilled from the principal of Milt Hershey when I was a kid there, Mr. Fisher. He said, Bob, you learn to work hard, you learn to play hard, And so anyway, I go to college, and you talk about freedom. My structure was gone. I wasn't working. You're going to college, meet new people and stuff. And next minute, man, I was just, I lost myself. And even, I remember the English teacher, she says at Westchester, she goes, you have so much potential, but you're a bad student. So I dropped out after 6 months, took a year off to find myself again. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, but I wasn't mature enough for what, again, it was such a transition for me.
It is.
And then I went back to school, got my 2-year degree, and then it was all said and done. You know what I mean? So never looked back. You know what I mean? The whole transition was really tough. And again, without a support cast, with family and friends, I always, again, at the end of the day, I'm lucky. You know what I mean? So.
So here's a question for you. How did your mom, you said your mom raised you guys, right?
Yes.
How did she hear about the Milt? Do you know?
Oh, the funny thing was, this whole time, that's a great question because I'm even out of school. And people say, how did your mom hear about me? And I said, the Lord. Swear, the Lord. Because that's what she told me when I was young. The Lord told me about it.
That sounds like my mom.
Yeah. And
sounds like my mom.
So what happened was there was somebody in church. My mom was very holy. You know what I mean? So somebody in church said, hey, there's some schools out there. And Girard College was one. Mm-hmm. And so I guess she went to visit Girard. And then I don't know, because she didn't even know how to drive when my dad passed away. So there was a year there before I came here. So I was 4 when he passed away, came here when I was 5. So she ended up taking a ride up here and then really liked the place. And then when she came up, we had to take IQ tests, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Pete busted on me saying, Pete said borderline, I was borderline, that got into school. I don't even know what my IQ is, But he was busting on me when he's like, because he was able to see my records.
He might know.
Well, he did. And he's like, you're borderline, bro. So we came up here, and this is the craziest story. So I come up, took the test, and they said they'd give you an answer. Now, I don't remember all this, but I was told this. And then the first day up here, I'll never forget it, man. They literally dropped you off. I don't know if they did it with the way you guys.
Yes.
So literally they drive up. my mom takes me, because my student home was in summer vacation, dropped me off at Dewey. They had a counselor, Miss Haas, I think her name was, and I'm sitting out on this stone. That's what's funny. When I walk on campus, I always go touch the stone. I'm sitting on the stone. She's talking to me, and I see my mom's station wagon, because everybody's in the, and, had the seats that face back, you know what I mean? So my sister's back there waving to me, like, what the heck? What's going on now?
Y'all forgot me.
I thought I was going back, and sure enough, no, they took off, and I go into student home, like, what's up? They're like, you're here now, man. That's a true. The crazy part, you're so young, you forget certain things, but I'll never forget that. The first day was like, yo, come on back, man. So that's a true story. But this is all, I'm telling you, this was awesome, man. You kidding me? I'm nervous for what? All you got to do is speak.
But I just want to say on record, man, thank you for
this was a
hooking
pleasure.
us up with this.
Yeah,
man.
oh my
Yeah,
God.
this is
Beautiful.
great.
Yeah,
This works out well.
And we'll do this anytime, like if you guys want,
That's
So
awesome.
we'll just keep in touch or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but
Yeah,
this was awesome, man. And again, at the end of the day, because you're all from Philly, right? Like everybody,
yeah.
we could bring it down, whatever. Because I just sitting here talking, I'm thinking of other people that I know would really just.
Yeah.
And that was
Definitely.
another
We need that.
question.
We
Yeah.
need that.
That's
Oh,
another
I know in a heartbeat. I mean, I can
Yeah.
think of 5-10 people without even blinking.
Good,
That would
good.
love
Yeah.
to do something like this and tell their story and just.
We'd love to hear
Again,
it.
I'm going to give you guys a donation here today, so just take it, whatever. But I think truly, because we were talking about how this is going to grow, I think the sky's the limit because you got so many Milts out there, so many stories.
Yeah.
Some good, not some so
We
you know,
wanna hear
good.
it.
But
We wanna hear it all.
Yeah, that's
all.
what I mean, because that's what makes us all Milts. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And again, I think something looking long term. You think of Milts out here that would really like to advertise. If you get to that
Yeah,
point,
whatever.
yeah.
to advertise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, think of what that would open up for
the Hershey
people.
Abstract
Well, when we
settlement services.
Well, we have a
that out
website. We have the social media accounts and all
Yeah.
that. So we're gonna be plugging a whole bunch of stuff. We're
I
just trying
tell
to
you, I
figure
think
it
it's a
out and
great
get all
idea.
the
You guys are on the right
semantics
path. Yeah, I mean,
They're at
it's
515 West Chocolate Avenue.
rear.
Yeah, I mean, if you need any,
Hershey Abstract
you need any
settlement service.
settlement
Oh
services
my God,
done,
you
we
guys are a
got you.
trip, man.
We
But
got
thank,
you.
thank you. This was I didn't know what to
Thank
expect.
you.
I was telling this young man, like all my young neighbors, yeah, we podcast this, the podcast, listen to these podcasts. I didn't even know. I thought I had to put a suit and tie on.
Nah,
We will start
I didn't know.
videotaping it.
I'm
at
generally
some
in a
point,
suit because I'm coming from work.
Yeah.
but This is.
Now
just
I will do
relax.
anything to help
This is your
out.
rec wear.
Yes.
Rec wear.
I got on my second best.
Your play clothes.
Yeah, I will definitely help out to do whatever I can from my end. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
so-
but thank you so much.
No,
Definitely.
thank you.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm glad.
It was great.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Whitman.
Follow us on Instagram at Milt_podcast, or Facebook, Milt_pod, Twitter, Milt_podcast, and at email, miltpodcast@gmail.com.
We encourage you to follow us on all our social media outlets and chime in and comment, ask questions, help us remember names, places, events. Just give feedback. But most of all, just get engaged. We want to hear from you.
Your mom's already there.